if you tell me whether you want to do devolution of power first.
So we'll do
and
devolution of power first then.
Yeah, we'll do devolution of power.
Okay.
No, there are so many issues day to day.
Below, let's do this. Now we have agreed, no? Okay.
But I am not agreed, okay.
Right, okay. No, devolution of power. We have discussed this in our devolution committee, and we have discussed, I have also informed cabinet. Implementation of the 13th amendment, constitutional amendment to safeguard full powers of the provincial council under list 1 with the exception of police powers, and B, also to include specific functions in list 3 in the provincial council list, subject to agreement among political parties in parliament, because unless you agree we won't have 2/3. So if you want to discuss that further, both Mr. Susil Premajayantha and Mr. Prasanna Ranatunga will be there to talk with the members and come back. We have other members also in our committee, former chief ministers, but both of them will be leading the discussions, on which we say whatever you want to do on list 1, how do you want to safeguard those issues? We have to make an exception for police powers, but all other issues we can take up. And if you want any other list 3 functions come into list 1, that's also there, but we have to get other, not only government and the Tamil members, but we have to get the other parties in opposition to agree, so that we have 2/3. And if that is accepted in principle, then we can ask them and the Justice Minister to discuss with you all the...
So there are a few questions that arise, Mr. President. One is, now...
Can I read the rest of it also?
Right.
Okay. Then we will bring bills to Parliament. The whole issue of how divisional secretaries are to be appointed, we discussed. We will bring a bill on that. Then we have said a bill which will enable the provincial council to exercise all their powers on the education list, Schedule 3, especially establishing provincial boards of education. Then also bill to establish provincial boards for vocational and technical training, bill to empower provincial councils to establish universities. The total of the education sector, most of it will then come to the provincial councils. Then to bill to empower provincial councils to undertake agricultural modernization and all agricultural grassroots services. At the moment it's split. Agrarian services goes to the central government, others go there. So let's have one bill which goes there, and the central government makes national policy. Then how it is to be implemented in different provinces, you have to make out. For instance, tea is utterly relevant to Northeast or NCP. So you've got to decide on those. This will bring immediately need for development. A bill to establish provincial tourism promotion boards. I think each area, and then we should have local committees below that. Then under the Industrialization Act, any industry with over ₹1 million is of national importance, we'll bring it to 250 million rupees. So all the small and medium enterprises will get covered by the provincial councils, and a bill to establish the district development councils. Last one, some of the subjects and functions devolved to the provincial councils are still administered under the central government. Legislation may be required to ensure that such subjects come under the purview of the provincial councils. That issue, also identifying it, can be done by with the 3 ministers. So that is the first part on the devolution. Second was what are the plans for development. We have find investments for renewable energy potential of the northern province and the consequent production of green hydrogen and ammonia. Availability of green hydrogen will increase the attractiveness of the Port of Colombo. You supply the green hydrogen to the Port of Colombo and Trincomalee for shipping in about another 10-15 years time. A Poonery in Newtown should be the center for the renewable energy economy. Water for the North program, we have the Poonakarin tank, Rio for Jaffna, the small tanks renewal program. I have also been asked about the giant tank. I said if we can bring giant tank and Malwa to a also into this scheme because the Lower Malwatuwa is a part of the northern province. These are 10-year plan, development of the KK Harbour, development of the Vaunia and Palali airports. If Trincomalee develops, we have to also develop the Vaunia airport as a backstop. Ferry service connecting northern province and South India. We want to have investment promotion zones in KKs, Paranthan and Mankulam. There will be tourism in the north. One is developing tourism in the northern province, Jaffna, Mannar, developing cruise tourism including the Mannar Fort, the islands, the KK Sport and Vadamarachi, promotion of coconut cultivation in Vanni, promoting Jaffna as a university town. We got to talk to the Muslims, the Sinhalese and the Tamils there. So that is the one,
So
but north is virtually ready for implementation in time. Yeah.
In this matter, this paper at page 14, I must say, is wholly unsatisfactory.
13 or 14?
Page 14.
Yes, okay, this is 13, my page, right.
Wholly unsatisfactory because even if you look at the recent history, after the war ended, President Mahinda Rajapaksa himself has made 3 joint statements with India. Now we are saying this just before you go to India. Joint statements, all 3 were made with India. And the joint statement said, we'll implement the 13th Amendment in full. Not full minus police powers, no. He said 13th Amendment in full and building upon it so as to achieve meaningful devolution. So there were 2 issues that were considered. One, that it has not been implemented in full yet, and that will be done. Second concession is that it is not meaningful. That is why it will be made meaningful. Even if you implement it in full, it is not meaningful devolution. That will be built upon in such a way as to achieve meaningful devolution. Not once, not twice, 3 times joint statements were made with India. Now that was the position of UPFA government. Now under the in the last parliament, when you were chairman of the steering committee of the Constitutional Assembly, the Prime Minister was a member of the steering committee. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 cabinet ministers who are here were all members of the steering committee. Mr. Sampadan and I were there. On devolution, we arrived at certain measure of agreement. In fact, Honorable President Ranatunga and Honorable Susil Premajan and another member, a 3-member ad hoc committee made a report also.
I have that also, yes.
Made a report also. So we arrived at fair amount of consensus on that. There was a subcommittee on devolution of police power, in which Honorable Namal Rajapaksa was also a member, and they gave a report on how that can be devolved. All that was achieved. So now to go back and say exception of police powers and then safeguard full powers doesn't seem a meaningful effort at all. We're going back on promises by both sides, both the UPFA at that time and the current hybrid government.
Okay. Firstly, I am Ranil Wickramasinghe, not Ranil Rajapaksa. So I am not bound by. I am not going to say what President Rajapaksa did, but I do go along with him saying that there has to be full implementation of the 13th Amendment. But in the discussions we had earlier, when I mentioned full implementation, there was a big outcry, and we decided that we'll go ahead and take up police powers later. So you got to decide on that. Rest of it, I have asked you all to be in a committee to work with Susil Premaja and the Minister Prasanna Ranatunga, both of whom are there, so you can finish all the details with them. I read the report that you all had done even 2 days ago. I am in agreement with that. I haven't seen Namal Rajapaksa's report. So both of them, and there is the Minister for Justice. So we have to decide whether we are going ahead with this, whether you all want to go ahead with this or not, because we have to draft the legislation. Then other bills are what we have done. And third, I have put one to catch up with any. I think you, there are any matters belong to the provinces which is being administered by the center, we'll take it back to the provinces. So we are prepared. I think the disagreement seems to be only on what we do with police powers. Everything else is there. So.
Our position is that there was a deadline that you gave,
Yeah.
4th of February, nothing happened. Then you said before last meeting, you said before end of July.
Yeah.
None of that is listed here, can be done before end of July. Okay? So we don't want to be party
Okay.
to something that is indefinitely strung
I-
along the way.
I-
But we are not opposed to you implementing any of these things.
No, as far as we are concerned, as far as I am concerned, I didn't say I am going to implement everything. I said the proposal will be given to you before 31st July. And now I have given the proposals. So question is, do we go ahead with it or not? Do you want to support it or not?
No,
Do you want to talk it or not?
No, these proposals we
Okay.
don't accept as genuine power sharing proposals.
Okay. But I have
But
not
we
put
will
the-
not stand in the way. We will not stand in the way of government implementing this.
I am going to talk to the other party leaders before I have to speak to you. Next round will be them. If they want to go beyond this, I have no problem. So we will tell them this is what is on. Do you want this? Do you want it less or do you want it more? I will not give it less. But if everyone agrees to give more, I will add it. I mean, why should I take this thing? But remember what I offered you in 2005 when you rejected. Don't do the mistake again. That's all that I can tell you. As far as I am concerned, these proposals will be put forward to all the party leaders.
He is the one who rejected.
Huh? You all also rejected, he also rejected. All rejected. Yeah. No, so anyway, what am I going to do? We will we'll discuss with them and we'll draft the constitutional amendments with the other political parties, as you know, subject to agreement by leaders of the parties in parliament. And when that is done, we will go ahead. The bills we can pass anyway. We will pass the bills establishing all this. As far as the constitution, we will finally draft and put it to parliament, and that the parliament must either pass it or they must reject it. I haven't got 2/3, but I am determined to solve this issue. So all the other matters also will be put down. Where there is regulation, there will be regulations. Where there are laws, there will be laws. Where there is constitutional amendments, we will present the constitutional amendments. I am prepared to go all that way.
Let me put forward my party's position.
Yeah.
We are of opinion that anything that strengthens the 13th Amendment and is going to be put into operation is the immediate need of the country at the moment. So therefore, everything that promotes that should be attended to, and as soon as possible, the provincial councils should come into effect.
Yes,
And should be
so
able
you
to-
give us your views on it, because the ministers committee will start sitting in about 2 weeks time, and we'll tell all of you, those who want to come can come, others won't come. And in the meantime, I will also speak with the other party leaders and find out what their views are and come along. We have no difficulty at that. But I am trying to resolve, at least I am going most of the way. If you
Your
don't want
Excellency,
it,
we appreciate the efforts you're trying to solve this issue once and for all. And as you said earlier in your speeches that there is a short-term solution and a long-term solution. And I believe this is the immediate solution that we could all come into consensus. And we will support you on this immediate solutions. But we'll discuss further on the other ones as well.
Okay.